A reading from 2 Kings. Today is November 24th. Our reading from 2 Kings is chapter 19. When King Hezekiah heard this, he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of the Lord. He also sent Eliakim, who was in charge of the palace, Shebna the scribe, and the senior priests, covered with sackcloth, to the prophet Isaiah son of Amoz. They said to him, "Thus says Hezekiah, this day is a day of distress, of chastisement, and of disgrace. The babes have reached their birth stool, but the strength to give birth is lacking. Perhaps the Lord your God will take note of all the words of the Rabshakeh, who is master, the king of Assyria, has sent to blaspheme the living God, and will mete out judgment for the words that the Lord your God has heard, if you will offer up prayer for the surviving remnant." When King Hezekiah ministers came to Isaiah, Isaiah said to them, "Tell your master as follows, thus said the Lord, do not be frightened by the words of blasphemy against me that you have heard from the minions of the king of Assyria. I will delude him. He will hear a rumor and return to his land, and I will make him fall by the sword in his land." The Rabshakeh meanwhile heard that the king had left Lachish. He turned back and found the king of Assyria attacking Libnah. But the king of Assyria learned that King Tirhakah of Nubia had come out to fight him. So again he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, "Tell to this King Hezekiah of Judah, do not let your God, on whom you are relying, mislead you into thinking that Jerusalem will not be delivered into the hands of the king of Assyria. You yourself have heard what kings of Assyria have done to all the lands, how they have annihilated them. And can you escape? Were the nations that were my predecessors destroyed? Gozan, Haran, Rezeph, and the Bethedenites in Telassar, saved by their gods? Where is the king of Hamath and the king of Arpad, and the kings of Lair, Sepharvaim, Hena, and Iva?" Hezekiah took the letter from the messengers and read it. Hezekiah then went up to the house of the Lord and spread it out before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord and said, "O Lord of hosts, enthroned on the cherubim, you alone are God of all the kingdoms of earth. You made the heavens and the earth. O Lord, incline your ear and hear. Open your eyes and see. Hear the words that Sennacherib had sent to blaspheme the living God. True, O Lord, the kings of Assyria have annihilated the nations in their land, and have committed their gods to the flames, and have destroyed them, for they are not gods, but man's hand, work of wood and stone. But now, O Lord our God, deliver us from his hands, and let all the kingdoms of the earth know that you alone, O Lord our God." Then Isaiah son of Amoz sent this message to Hezekiah, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I have heard the prayer you have offered me concerning King Sennacherib of Assyria. This is the word that the Lord has spoken concerning him. Fair maiden Zion despises you, she mocks at you. Fair Jerusalem shakes her head at you. Whom have you blasphemed and reviled against? Who made loud your voice and haughtily raised your eye against the Holy One of Israel? Through your envoys you have blasphemed my Lord, because you thought, thanks to my vast chariotry, it is I who have climbed the highest mountains to the remotest part of Lebanon, and have cut down the loftiest cedars, its choice cypresses, and have reached its remotest lodge, its densest forest. It is I who have drawn and drunk the waters of strangers. I have dried up with the soles of my feet all the streams of Egypt. Have you not heard? Of old I planned that very thing. I designed it long ago, and now have fulfilled it, and it has come to pass, laying waste fortified towns in desolate heaps. Their inhabitants are helpless, dismayed, and shamed. They were but grass of the field and green herbage, grass of the roofs that is blasted before the standing grain. I know your stayings and your goings and comings, and how you have raged against me. Because you have raged against me, and your tumult has reached my ears, I will place my hook in your nose and my bit between your jaws, and I will make you go back by the road by which you came. And this is the sign for you. This year you eat what grows of itself, and the next year what springs from that, and in the third year sow and reap, and plant vineyards and eat their fruit. And the survivors of the house of Judah that have escaped shall regenerate its stock below, and produce boughs above. For a remnant shall come forth from Jerusalem, survivors from Mount Zion. Their zeal of the Lord of hosts shall bring this to pass. Assuredly, thus says the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not enter this city, he shall not shoot an arrow at it, or advance upon it with a shield, or pile up a siege mounted against it. He shall go back by the way he came, he shall not enter this city, declares the Lord. I will protect and save this city for my sake, and for the sake of my servant David. That night an angel of the Lord went out and struck down 185,000 in the Assyrian camp, and the following morning they were all dead corpses. So King Sennacherib of Assyria broke camp and retreated and stayed in Nineveh. While he was worshipping in the temple of his god Nisroch, his sons Adaramelech and Sarazar struck him down with the sword. They fled to the land of Ararat, and his son Esarhaddon succeeded him as king.